All right, so for our last panel of the day, we're going to be highlighting the progress and challenges in the Kuwaiti startup ecosystem. I'd like to invite panelists Fawaz Al-Ubaid and Muna Al-Mukhaizim to the stage, please, as well as Lena Ramfelt, our moderator.
Sir? No, you have a seat there. So first, just a few seconds of why you hopefully can trust me to host a panel. My name is Lena Ramfelt. I have been teaching at Stanford for 12 years. I've been part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Silicon Valley for 12 years. I now have the really exciting opportunity to work with entrepreneurs all over the world. This is the second time I visit Kuwait, where I work with a Savour venture accelerator with 5 entrepreneurs related to food and food tech. There are 2 things that are going to happen in this room the following 30 minutes. We have a very interesting and smart panel that we're going to use. I call them, we're going to use the wisdom of the panel. But we also have a lot of insight and knowledge among all of you who have chosen to spend the next 30 minutes with us. So I really want to have the wisdom of the crowd. And the wisdom of the crowd, we're going to get by Amira. Stand up. Amira is going to pass out post-it notes for you. And after the 30 minutes, either you can give, and you can be anonymous, but after the 30 minutes, either you give post-its back to Amira or you put it on the wall. And here is what I would like your suggestions and insight on. That is, how can you or someone else make the entrepreneurial ecosystem grow faster, better, and smarter? Are you with me on this? Okay, how many of you can already now say, oh yeah, I will participate in this, even though it's kind of strange and weird and whatever? Okay, good. Excellent. So here is the thing, why I asked for a handheld mic. I have been listening to a lot of great panels today, and I can see when you're looking at the screen, they are talking to me and I'm over here. I don't want them to talk to me. I want them to talk facing you. So I'm going to position myself on the stairs instead. And we're going to do this kind of the Silicon Valley way. So it's going to be, we have to practice what we're preaching. And part of what we're preaching is pitching. So I asked the 2 panelists, and they agreed on it, that they will be crisp, clear, and concise. And I even brought, the clock here, so I can time you. Good. So the first question is, or it's not the question, is I want you to introduce yourself to me and to the audience. Mona, who are you?
Sure. Just as a side note, we didn't agree. We didn't have an option.
No.
Yes. So my name is Muna Al-Mukhaizim. I am the co-founder of Sirdab Lab. It is the first startup hub in Kuwait. I'm also a managing partner at Savour, the first accelerator that focuses on food in the Middle East.
Good job.
Thank
yes. You. Can you follow that?
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank ArabNet team for this conference. Thank you for saying my name properly. You did a great job. We are Seeds partners, newly established venture capital here in Kuwait. We established this year, and we are focusing on disruptive, innovative businesses, and we invest up to $250,000 per ticket into those startups, and we focus on the GCC region and the MENA region for the next 3 years.
Good, thank you. So, the title of what we're doing is the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Kuwait. But there is someone that we are missing on this panel. Who is that? We're missing an entrepreneur who is really going to benefit from that being an ecosystem for her or for him. So I'm going to break a rule here, and I'm going to invite one of my or Savour Ventures entrepreneurs to the stage to reflect on what the two people are saying. So please, Samir, join us. I'm flying out of the country later today, so, you know, I can do pretty much anything. Good. So, Samir, really shortly, who are you?
So I'm Sam al-Tarazi. Yeah, that's fine. But what we do is we are Ella, and we're helping businesses automate their sales through chat. I'm one of the startups participating in the Savour accelerator, and I'm originally from Jordan, but I'm here in Kuwait experiencing the system and trying to benefit from it.
Okay, so and how we're going to do this is that I will first have a conversation with the two of you, and then in the last part of this session, Samir will reflect on what you said. So, first thing, any one of you can start. What is the main challenge for growing the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Kuwait?
Okay. First of all, it's very difficult just to say one challenge, so I'm going to summarize everything. Number one, this is something everyone says, the bureaucracy. Entrepreneurs waste a lot of time dealing with something that they shouldn't waste their time on, rather than focusing on their business model or improving their marketing strategy or improving their sales. They're focusing on how can they get an employee from outside of Kuwait or get a visa or any of that stuff. That's number one. Number two, IP protection. There is a lack of IP protection and patents in Kuwait. This is something that will not and will never attract anyone from outside of Kuwait to come here. I've been in the US for 7 years, and I worked at, actually I was an entrepreneur over there, and I know how they value patents and IP protection, and it's very attractive for entrepreneurs. Number three, lack of research and development. When we compare the budget of research and development in Kuwait and compare something like, I saw a tweet today about Volkswagen's research and development budget compared to Kuwait, it's like something like 10 times or 12 times bigger. You're talking about a company and you're talking about a country. One more thing, the knowledge, the education. I think universities should do a better job in educating the students, because as we can hear in the US or in Europe, many of those startups that right now are multi-billion-dollar companies are startups that came out of college or university, or actually it's an idea. To sum up everything, we are doing a good job in progressing, but we're not there yet. And I think the power of the youth and the drive that they have, we will get there sometime, but things have to be a little bit more organized.
Good, so he broke some rules. Mona?
It works.
He had 4, so you can have no more than 4.
It's okay. I'll stick to one, which is the synchronization of the different gears that move the ecosystem forward. So we have legal, education, smart funding, culture, lack of data, and you see progress in some aspects, but they're not in sync with the progress you see in other aspects. And I think in order for the momentum to pick up, we'd like to see all these different aspects move in sync.
So I think that both of you are pointing to what other can do, what others should do. In terms of the university and the bureaucracy and the IP protection and R&D. But I'm really interested in what is it that you can start doing, what you will start doing. You want to start?
Sure.
Who want to start with the start?
Yeah, I'd love to start. I think, so Sirdab Lab has been around for 3 years. We're friendly with everyone in the community. We collaborate every now and then, but I would like to see a more structured approach to collaboration, whether if it's VCs across the region or other communities, again, across the region. I would like us to start structuring these collaborations and having them on a continuous basis.
And if I agree with that, and I said, yeah, Mona, go for it, what will you start doing on Monday to make that happen?
Great question. I want to start identifying who exactly do I want to collaborate with, and then the areas that we want to collaborate on. So if it's VCs on funding, how can we have a shared deal flow, for example? If someone is leading a round, how can we get that information promptly? Things like that. And then start identifying these areas and then have an action plan on executing these objectives.
For
on
me,
Monday, what will you do on Monday?
Okay, now, number one thing, the first meeting with any entrepreneur wouldn't involve any business-related subjects. It will just be something to educate them with business literacy terms. So, because I was amazed by the amount of entrepreneurs that actually do not know what's a convertible note. And if they're meeting with a VC and they don't know what's a convertible note, I think there is a big lack or a big gap between us and them. So the first thing I'll start doing on Sunday, not Monday, is actually educating them and talking like business literacy stuff, nothing to do with the business or the idea.
Anything else?
Nothing on my mind.
Okay. So I prepared them a little bit before we started, and I said, okay, so there is the first question I'm going to ask you is, what is it that you will start doing? But then when I told them the second question, they started hesitating, because the second question is, what is it that the two of you need to stop doing?
I'll stop procrastinating on starting the structured relationships. No, but I think, what Fawaz just mentioned, and it's a perfect example. I'll call you on Sunday, and we can have VCs give lectures to entrepreneurs through our incubator. So that would be a great way to start, yeah.
So, as I mentioned, given the fact we're new, given the fact we don't have enough information, and given the fact you can't stop something you never started, so to be honest with you, there's nothing I can stop at the moment, but probably if we have a conference next year, I'll have something.
I will be back for that
Okay.
one. So we have the start. They kind of hesitating on the stop. They excusing themselves, saying, "Oh, we are young and we are at least new to this." But what is it that you are currently doing that you are very proud that you are doing in supporting the growth of the ecosystem?
So I was in Dubai almost a month ago, and we started doing something really unique. The first sit down with the entrepreneur, what we said, investment aside, venture capital aside, let's talk, what are you guys facing? What are you guys having troubles in? What are your blind spots or weaknesses? Let's see if we can fill that in. Because one of the internal policies that we have at Seeds Partners is that we talk smart money. We're not a bunch of investors that just want to put money into businesses and hopefully something happens. We have the energy, we want to be partners with them, and that's reflected in our name, Seeds Partners. We want to roll our sleeves up with the entrepreneur and work with them and be added value to their business. Because, to be honest with you, I mean, there are plenty of businesses around the world. Our pipeline is full, but the smart thing to do is to actually find the right business for the venture capital and for the right partner for the entrepreneur.
Mona?
The thing I'm most proud of is being passionate about building the startup ecosystem. We led, I think, the startup scene in Kuwait when we started Sardab Lab in 2011. And now Savour is the first accelerator in Kuwait. I think we want to continue being leaders and just expressing passion in whatever we do. I know it sounds maybe cheesy, but we mean it. I mean it personally.
But what we're really talking about here is to build a system. That means that you also have to find roles vis-a-vis each other. So what is it that you can do together? Where can you be collaborators?
I mean, there are a lot of things that we can do together, but one thing about the ecosystem, I mean, a lot of people think that people who are like, we are competition. We compete with each other. That's not true. We complete each other. Incubators, co-working spaces, accelerators, venture capital, the government, they have to work together to get to the end goal. So I think with Sirdab Lab, there are a lot of things that we can do. Actually come and sit with the entrepreneurs, see what the market is going towards, or what are the things that they're lacking. And then also, Sirdab Lab could actually be a very solid pipeline for venture capitals. And we can actually be a solid pipeline for them, because a lot of entrepreneurs come to us and they're not prepared for investment. So they need to go through the right process, like any other incubator or co-working space or accelerator, and then come for investment.
They'll get an invitation for our demo day coming up soon. Yeah, but for sure, deal flow is one aspect, training is another. And I think one more thing that we could do together is for them to tell us what opportunities that they're looking for, and then we can gear problem solvers to solve problems in the domains that they're looking to invest in.
So, Samir, you are kind of the fundamental piece of any entrepreneurial ecosystem around the world, because you are an entrepreneur. Reflect on what they just said. Will it help you?
So yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, but I think the first thing we need to change is the culture itself. And we need to start looking at the startup ecosystem as something crucial rather than cool. Entrepreneurs need to educate themselves and take their businesses, not startups, seriously, because it is a business. And investors need to stop wanting to be the strongest person in the room and actually, like he said, you know, be partners and be smart and help the companies get somewhere. And governments at the same time, you know, need to understand that this is much more than just something, like I said, cool, and rather, you know, this is building the opportunity for the entire financial system of a country, you know, 10, 15, 20, whatever years down the road. So I think it's all a matter of we starting to realize more that we're here to, you know, solve a problem, build a business, and make money. And if everybody gets that and we all work together to actually establish that, then I think we all get to a much better place.
But if you could use my start, stop, keep,
Yep.
and turn to them,
Yep.
and what is it that you would like them to start, stop, keep on doing the coming week? I'm interested to see how much all of you are in sync here.
Okay, cool. So it's a little unfair because I had little less preparation time than all of them, but you know, that's usually the case with entrepreneurs. So, I mean, initially, I think what we need to start with is, you know, having the basis in terms of regulations to help anybody start a business instantly, easily, without having to face any major hurdles along the way that are really unnecessary. And education systems need to help us understand. It doesn't have to be in a university, but an entrepreneur can actually head somewhere and get the right stuff in place to actually start a business. And those are, I think, the main two things we need to start. The other virtual thing that needs to be started, but it's something that it goes much more long term, is how do we change the culture? So how do we get people to actually understand this is not just about being cool, it's about building an entire ecosystem, making money, and building a financial system. Like I said, I think a lot of the problems in the region are with entrepreneurs and investors at the same time. When they get into a partnership, instead of them pulling in a certain direction, they start becoming competitors in a way or another, and it becomes a fight of power. And I think that needs to stop from now. People need to realize that everybody on board, whether it's an investor or an entrepreneur, are all pulling towards a specific goal, and they can help each other get there. And, you know, I guess those are the things that I've seen most affect myself and other entrepreneurs in the region. And I think if we get those done, it's hopefully going to go to a better place.
So can you do this for Samir and his friends?
We'll definitely work on it, and I actually took notes on the points he said because I forget a lot, so very valid points. But again, this is something that couldn't be done by a single entity or a single person. This is something that everyone has to work. The good news is that the youth caught the attention of the government in the past 5 years, and we can see the changes. But again, are we there yet? No. Do I think we'll be there sometime soon? I hope so, and I have a good feeling about that.
I think our key contribution would be education and collaboration, whether educating the government on how to enhance the legal system or enhancing the actual education system. I also think educating the community itself and the collaborators that this is a team sport and we all need to collaborate together. So I think our role is in education.
Great. So I'm sure there are some entrepreneurs here in the audience. What are the things, if they are to contact you, what is it that you would like them to bring with them?
Okay, so from a venture capital perspective, number one, we look at the entrepreneur himself or herself, the individual. Is that the person that I really want to work with? Is that someone I want to partner with? That's number one. Number two, we look at the idea itself. Because we actually believe it's very easy to change an idea or improve it, but it's very difficult to change a person. So that's why we focus on the person first and then the idea. And then if it's something that there's a proof of concept, we look at the company, the structure. Is it built? Does it have a good foundation? Is it something that could be moved from the venture capital from point A to point B, then to point C? That's what we look at. So preparation, they know what they're talking about. And one thing that really turns off venture capitalists is that a lot of entrepreneurs get on that wave that they want to value their company from day one at $1 million or $2 million. It doesn't make sense to a lot of investors. So that's one thing that we actually need to improve in the ecosystem in Kuwait here.
For an entrepreneur to come and see me, I would like them to have passion, intellect, and integrity. I think everything else can be taught, at least, or you can connect them with someone. But if they have those three things, that's, to me, a recipe for success.
Any finishing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my only finishing thought would be entrepreneurs need to also have a part in this, not just to expect everybody else to do something, not to expect the governments to fix everything or organizations to create the ecosystem. We are part of it, and we need to do our role as well, whether that was within our own companies or within the ecosystem, to help push it forward and do stuff. So educate yourselves, be part of the ecosystem, push for it, because at the end of the day, you know, none of this exists without of us, and we are, you know, the essential part of that, and we need to help build it for it to actually become something viable for, you know, many years.
Thank you.
Good. So I'm going to end by reflecting. So I did research on Silicon Valley, on the ecosystem, in 3 different places: in Singapore, Sweden, and Silicon Valley. So three parts of the world, all starting with S. And I would say bureaucracy, it's global. And it doesn't matter if you have to fill out 50 pages in order to start a company, or like is in the case in Sweden, you just type something on the website and you're pretty much done. Entrepreneurs will always complain about bureaucracy. There are always going to be too much bureaucracy. The next thing about the IP, and we can continue because I know it's a coffee break afterward, the IP protection, yes, it is important. But when Tesla puts all of their patents in the public domain, there is something, because they said, the market is so big, so we will not be able to sell cars to everyone who wants this type of car. Please join us. There is something going on in terms of the of IP protection. And I might be too far out there, but we can debate that later. Education, yes. We have this, I see the same problem pretty much wherever I am in the world. And it's just a matter, where do you want to start it? No? If you don't have it in the universities, you think, yeah, if we bring it more into the university, it will be better. If you have it in university, you say, okay, maybe it's in high school. So I agree with you completely, but I think that, and I don't really like when we say, yeah, it's a culture thing, because culture, who is responsible for the culture? It's a little bit, say, it's a problem for the system. Where is the system? Who do I call? Where is the customer support for the system? It doesn't exist, really. And then the last thing is, yeah, there is a lot of R&D going on in Volkswagen. But what I'm really thrilled when I see is the startup, the early stage entrepreneurs who do not have access to R&D funding, but they do it anyway. And they actually, because maybe they don't have the money, they don't have, there isn't a structure, there are no any guidelines or processes that they have to follow. They are not kind of in-house, in-company's value. They pretty much can do anything. So the disruption, the game changers are not, and I hope there isn't anyone from Volkswagen here, is not going to be born in Volkswagen. It's going to happen, with Samir as the starting point, you supporting him with money, but even more importantly, with your knowledge and your experience, and that's something I'm just amazed about the networking component in Kuwait. I learned today that no one is more than 0.9 connections away in Kuwait. Imagine that. Imagine how this entrepreneurial system, how fast that could grow and how integrated it could be into culture, into education, into, families, anything. So I think that Kuwait, you will do it. And it will be really interesting for me to follow what's happening in Kuwait. So we have 4 more minutes. And now it's time for the wisdom of the crowd, the wisdom of the audience. Please take your time and put suggestions, ideas, or questions for how the Kuwaiti ecosystem can be built. And I promise I will type it up and I will give it to the organizers, to ArabNet. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you for staying.